We might want to take questions
Hey
too.
there, my name is, oh, sure, definitely. My name is Pam Peebles, and welcome to our Millionaire Mastermind, Millionaire Mastermind series. I can't even get it out. It was our midday Millionaire Mastermind series. I can't even say it straight now. But did I even get my name right? Well, anyway, this is part two of our mastermind series because last week we had John with us, and John had so much good information. We didn't want it to end. We went on for almost about 2 hours, and so after all the feedback we got, and after getting off with you guys, John and I actually stayed on for probably another 45 minutes or an hour talking, and I got so much information from him. And of course, John is my sponsor, so lucky me. But I got so much information, I thought it would be really helpful if you guys had an opportunity to get some of this information as well. So we're back for round two with the man, John. In my opinion, knows everything about everything. So we had a chance to hang out this weekend. It was Tim Miller's birthday. If you don't know who Tim Miller is, he's Crown Diamond in Skinny Body Care. And he had his birthday. Actually, his birthday was on yesterday, so happy birthday, Tim. And so he came in town to Atlanta. We all hung out, and just as usual, John was just dropping knowledge on us. So tonight, we're just going to kind of take some questions from you guys, ask a few questions on some things that we were talking about on our after call after you guys got off of the training with us last week, and then also just kind of have John share some additional information with you guys. So for those of you guys who are not aware, if you're just kind of tuning in and you're kind of lost like part two of what, with these trainings, with the masterminds, the Millionaire Mastermind series, what they are is we've decided to put these coaching training series together to give you an opportunity to meet some of the brightest, the best leaders in our industry, in the health and wellness industry, and John happens to be one of the people. He's double diamond in this business. He's been in health and wellness business for a while, but he's been with Skinny Body Care, I believe, for about 6-7 months. Am I correct, John? A little longer?
No, actually, today's what, the 9th? So actually next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, will be 6 months.
6 months. So six
So
months.
5 months and 3 weeks. Yeah, 5 months and 3 weeks. Yep.
How do you keep up with days like that where you could say 5 months and 3 weeks? But he's been in 5 weeks.
Because it was March 17th. March 17th is a 3. So I'm a mathematical weirdo. So March 17th is a 317. You add 6 for 6 months makes it 917. Today's the 9th. Minus off a week is 8 days. So 5. So it's 5 weeks. It'll be 6 months tomorrow and 8 more days.
Okay.
Trust me, my wife. People ask me questions and with numbers, and she's like, "You shouldn't have done that."
Yeah,
It's
I
weird.
hope somebody caught some of that because I'm totally lost now. But so I'm gonna stick with he's been in almost 6 months. But he did that to us last week and said that we had over the weekend. He said that we had. I think he said it was so many days, 2 weeks and 3 days or something in the month. We were like, huh? 3 weeks and 2 days in a month or something to that effect. I don't know how he does it, but that explains why we're doing part two because this guy's a genius. So we're gonna we're gonna start off just by just kind of I'm gonna go to the page and ask a few questions or see if you guys have some questions that you specifically want to ask of John. But some of the things that I want to talk about is the dynamic growth that your team is having right now, which I happen to be part of your team. Thankfully, I'm part of your team. But I want to talk about that because that's kind of where we had left off. And I know when we left off there, you were really trying to cram a lot of information in because initially we were trying to get everything done in an hour's period of time, and we kind of have free-for-all this evening. But I want to talk about that a little bit because not a lot of people, and I realize that you have tons of experience, but one of the things you kind of shocked a lot of people with was the fact that you don't have this huge, you didn't start off with hundreds and thousands of people, which I think a lot of people were expecting to hear, that you really start off with this, very low number of people. But from that, in a 6-month period of time, you've grown this dynamic team. So I want to talk about that explosion that you've had so that people can understand that, one, it's possible for them to do the same and what kind of steps that they need to take, because I really think that that part important for people to hear, because I know it was really important for me to hear, to kind of back up a little bit and start looking at how I need to restructure my business. So would you mind starting there, John?
Sure. Sounds good to me. Um, After we did the call a couple of weeks ago, I actually started looking at the business other than this weekend, because this weekend we were out to dinner and, the football game. And by the way, who that? The Falcons are that. I have to give that for Tim Miller there, because his New Orleans Saints lost. Like I told him that they would, and I know he's watching this. But I keep tabs on my business. When you just saw me do that weird thing with the numbers, it just comes second nature to me. But I like to know data and I like to know facts. So when I look at my business, I'm in front of a computer pretty much every waking hour. When I go downstairs 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's the same routine. I take my supplements. I take, some of my network marketing products. I hit the coffee button. I go turn on the TV, put CNBC on, sit down, look at my computer screen, wipe the stuff out of my eyes, and wait 10 minutes for the coffee to be ready, and then start going through my emails, and then I start going through my businesses. And I know to the BV within 50 BV points before I go to bed. I know how many people came in that day. I know how many people dropped off that day, and I keep tabs on it because it's a business. And in the beginning, when I first got started, I was the same way. When I got involved in network marketing, actually the second company I was with for 6 years, that company used to fax us the reports. So every Wednesday night, we'd get a report faxed to us, and it would show the new enrollees for the week in our organization, and then you'd see the people who quit, dropped out, or asked for refunds. That company's a $1.1 billion company today, per year, not per cumulative, but they do over $1 billion every year. And what was interesting is no matter where you are in your business, knowing the numbers helps you, because you know where you have to focus on in your business. And a lot of people don't do that. They first of all, the way they join a company is I made a post on Facebook several years ago. I found somebody who had a stack of dartboards, and I picked it up and I said, these are for sale and I'm putting them on eBay, but you guys want them because I don't need them, because it seems like that everybody puts a blindfold on, they don't make a business decision, and they throw a dart, and whatever it hits, that day is what they join. And they don't make an educated decision on what they join. But they also don't keep track of their business, and a lot of people say, well, my group is not big enough. Well, yeah, it is. It doesn't matter if you're getting started. You have to take a barometer of where your business is at so that you know where you have to work on. We used to do what's called quadrants in our business. I was taught, I didn't invent it. I modified it a little bit. But what we did was, when you're starting out in the business as a newbie, or you're an established leader like somebody like Tim Miller, who's a crown diamond, who's been in for 3.5 years, you have to work your business a certain way. You never want to get into management in your business. Too many people do that. You have to manage your business somewhat at the higher level, but your management should be never more than 5 to 7% of your business. Now, that's whether you're a newbie or you're an experienced vet and have a huge organization. The only thing that you're really changing is that when you're new and you're starting out with a business is, where do you focus your time? The way you focus your time when you're a newbie is building a team. You don't have a team yet. You're the team. So your new thing, your whole day, okay, is making a list of prospects to contact and contacting those prospects, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through the phone, whether it's through email, whatever way you're going to do it. That's where 99.9% of your time is being spent, is to find new people, to expose them to the business, and expose them to Skinny Body, to get them on a tour, and then to follow up with them. Then as your group grows, okay, and then you have start leaders or teammates who are demanding your time, then you have to devote your time to less of personally enrolling. So what do? So then you look at it, you say, okay, in the last 30 days, I've put in 4 people. And out of those 4 people, 1 guy won't return my phone call anymore. 1 guy is just a customer, so he doesn't need my help. I might send him an email and ask him, how he's having some success on the product, anything you can help him with. But then you have 2 out of those 4 who want to build the business. What you do is you sit down with them on the phone, through a webinar, on a conference call, and you go to them and you ask them what their goals are for the business. And you find out how much time of yours, depending on how much time you're devoting to your business, how much you have to use and devote to them to help them build their business. And that would be for 3-way phone calls, maybe, guiding them to different webinars, and just guiding them down the path. Your ultimate goal is to find someone better than you and always go after someone better than you, because that's what the golden goose is. I'm always looking for someone better than me. I'm always looking for the Tim Millers. I'm always looking for the Jackie Stewarts. I'm always looking for the Pete Delmonicos. Those are the people I'm looking for, the Pams. The reason being is those people don't need my help. Yeah, Pam, you and I speak, every day on Facebook. We don't speak every day on the phone. We spent the whole weekend together, our families and stuff like that, and we were out and we masterminded, we joked around, we broke bread together, but we talk about a couple of different things, because I know what's going on in your life right now, and you're getting some things done, and you have some things that you got to do here and there in Georgia. So I'm there as a safety net for you, because I really don't need to teach you much. You've had success in the industry before. I'm there when you need me. Those are what you're looking for. The people who reach out to me, or say, hey, John, I need your help. Oh, okay, great. Well, what's your goal? And I don't care if they're in my downline or not. I don't want somebody to call me up and say, John, teach me the secret sauce. Get on one of these videos and watch it, and you can see what I do. There is no secret sauce. I can't magically make you the Pete Delmonico, who enrolls all these people, okay, and he's really, really good at it, because that's not what I do. If you can do that, I can guide you what you need to do. And then when you have the people to expose to the business, that's where I come in. And that's where I devote my time to you, okay? And that's where I do the 3-ways. Now, when you're a new person, you're going to guide them that way. You're going to go over, get them to the videos, have them go over the comp plan. And in the first 24 to 48 hours, you want to give them basic homework. You want them to go watch Ben's videos. Ben has the new videos out. There's new videos in the back office. And you want to quiz them a little bit, because you don't want them coming back and say, oh, I didn't know that about the comp plan, or how come I don't know this, or how come I don't know that. Now, as your group gets bigger, now you're working with your people and your people's people, because your people might be too new, so you're becoming the leader. So what happens is you develop this 4 quadrants of basically where most of or all of your time is working just personally enrolling, to where you get to a Tim Miller status where much less of your time, it flip-flops, where, yeah, you'll personally enroll, okay, down the road, and you're going to continue to do that in your free time, but most of your time is traveling like Tim does, and going to do maybe a Super Saturday or something like that, going and doing a hotel meeting if somebody asks you in your group, getting on the Build It Big call, do 3-way calls. I can tell you this, when Tim Miller got into when we got into the business in March, and Tim had already been in the business at that time. I don't want to do the math thing again, but 6 months and 3 years and 2 months. Tim wasn't used to doing the 3-way calls. He was take the tour. My team, I guess you say, our success line, demanded Tim's time. Tim was yelling at me on Facebook. This is not what I do. Tim would be. He goes, and Tim now is actually wanting to do that. Tim's actually telling people on calls, I'm not going to be there to help you get a person to take the tour. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to do that. I will do 3-way calls. Get me on the phone with them. Get me on the. Matter of fact, we have a big group building in Colombia right now, and it's one of my legs that's blowing up, and they're demanding us to go down to Colombia, and I didn't even know it. And Tim reached out to me and he says, we're going to have to get on a plane. We're going to have to go to Colombia, because that's how they do business down there. And to get skinny body care to $1 billion, you need the international market. End all be all, every company that's doing $1 billion per year, in those markets or have some sort of international presence or building international, especially even into the $200, $400, $500 million level. But what you have to learn with that is that they build differently. Once a group gets going there, they'll demand your time. Now, do you still want to prospect over there? And by the way, I jump around, so I'll get back to what we were initially talking about. But um, you might not be able to afford. You might not be able to afford the time off if you have a full-time job while you're building Skinny, but you should still be able to prospect overseas, because what will happen is somebody has a vested interest above you in that organization. So if you do prospect people overseas and they do come into the business and those teams demand your time because your groups start getting up to 100, 200, 500 people, guess what? Someone will go there to support them, because those countries build belly to belly, face to face. They do hotel meetings, they do super Saturdays. Most of them don't even check email. It's a very, very, very different culture, because I built over there many, many years ago. So I know how to build in those countries. So going back to the time thing, another thing, when I said take a barometer of your business, and when you really look at your business, evaluate it and be brutally honest with yourself. If your business sucks, it's because you're not doing anything. Okay? If you have one person and you think that person is going to be your savior and you're going to make $1 million a year, if that's your goal, okay, you're living in a fantasy world. Okay? It's not going to happen. So when you become brutally honest with yourself and say, you know what, I have to treat this like a business. I have to look and see where I am so I know where I have to get to, and then what do I have to do in between. That's when your business will start to grow. Another thing you're going to experience is program jumpers. The people who are the program jumpers who've been in 50 deals, 5 deals, 3 deals, 10 deals, whatever it is, those people are going to come and go. Great, bye. Okay, that's how it is. That's the new culture that people do in MLM. The people who put in the time and the effort, okay, and you can see this really simply, and I discussed it on the other call for the people who weren't on it. The people that you see in companies that are doing well and the people that ultimately end up succeeding long term and have real residual big checks are the people who can take the punches, roll with them, and put the time and persistent and consistent effort into their business. The people, I see it all the time. I have to give a shout out to Carrie. Carrie, who's under Pete Delmonico. I met Carrie for the first time in Las Vegas. I can tell you this, I cannot turn on my Facebook without seeing a post from Carrie. I mean, sometimes I see 7 of them in a row. For some reason, she shows up on my news feed all the time, and I know that she's putting in the time and the effort, time and the effort, time and the effort, time and the effort, because today I got a sale because I posted something on my wall, and you guys can go see this is true. If you look, I posted the t-shirt. I saw somebody else post it. I think Tim posted it, actually. I took that. I put it into one of my frames that I use because I know these special sizes that Facebook uses, and I paid for the post. I got, I think it was 5 tour takers on that. I put my link in it. I changed it under the t-shirts, put my number. I don't do it very often. And I had one lady reach out to me and ended up buying a gold pack. And the reason that she did it is she said she wasn't even my friend. It was a sponsored post that I did. And she said, I've been watching. You don't post very often. But, you know, I've seen it long enough. I think it's about time that I get some of this weight off. And you know, maybe even make some extra money. And she reached out to me, and you know, for some reason I saw it pop up. For some reason it didn't go to my other box, and yeah, I got a sale from it. And it's not something I do, but things like Carrie does is Carrie's not going to see the results of what she started doing overnight. Somebody who posts as much as Carrie and puts the time and effort will start to see it start to snowball and compound. Because what happens is Carrie will be the type of person who sticks it out through thick or thin, and it'll build, it'll build, it'll build. And she will have no choice but to become successful, and her checks will grow, and then the comp plan will do what the comp plan is designed to do, like a real network marketing company. Everybody who's making real money and long-term real money in network marketing, remember what I said, long-term real money in network marketing is because they hung around long enough to make the comp plan work. People like Richard Call, who are making $400,000 to $500,000 a month, okay, Richard, who I know very, very well now, okay, he did that from going on the road, being away from his family for a long amount of time. And he built an empire, and people laughed at him back in the day, building a skincare company. And I remember, because I was a rookie in the business at that time, and I remember hearing about this guy. They called him the Midas Muffler guy, sponsored him. There was this whole story, and I actually spoke to Richard about it about 2 years ago, and we kind of laughed. And he told me he put the time and effort, and he hung around long enough. Enough of the nonsense in network marketing. If you're going to build a traditional business to pay you for a long amount of time, you're going to put 3 to 5 years into your business. Okay? You can expect money along the way, and you can expect consistent money along the way. But if you want retirement income where you're going to make bigger money, or whatever your why is that you want that money for, then you're going to have to put the time and effort into the business, and you're going to have to take barometers of your business. I'm hoping that word barometer is the right word, but you're going to have to take or put a pulse on your business, okay, all along the way, okay? And I'm not saying you have to do it as much as me, okay? I'm anal about things. Okay, I need to know every I's dotted, T's crossed. I mean, if it's not, I can't think correctly. I need to, because I have so much information and things that I have to track. If one thing's not right, I have to get it out of the way. It kind of gets a little frustrating. But for your business, it should be easy. And if you get into a habit of doing it, it becomes second nature. You don't even really worry about it too much. And that's pretty much it. I hope that answered a little bit of your question.
Well,
say that again.
Let me jump in real quick, because you just made a good point. How would somebody how would they put the barometer in? How would they actually check? So what would they do? Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Absolutely. So let's say you're brand new. You have no barometer. So your barometer when you wake up in the morning is, I'm brand new. My goal today is to expose Skinny Body Care to X number of people based upon the X number of hours you had in the day. That's your first day out of the gate when you start. Your upline sponsor should be, or your upline success line should be on the phone with you. And if you're the upline sponsor, success line, you should get on the phone with all your people and make believe they're starting over, and go over with them that day. Say, listen, we're starting over. Here's what I want to do. You're going to take the business seriously? Great, so am I. You want to run with me? Great, let's do it. How many hours a week are you going to devote to your business? Don't throw a number out there, okay? Get with your team if you have one, and then find out what they want from the business. Find out how much time they can work in the business. Find out if they know the comp plan inside and out. Have they watched all the videos? Do they know things? And if they don't know them, why don't they know them? And if they are afraid, a lot of people are afraid because they're afraid to get asked a question about Skinny Body because they don't know how to reply to it. So you'll find out where your people are. So that would be your first thing to take a barometer. Then, let's say you're in the business a little while and you got 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, 200 people. What I want you to do, and you should do this, is every day in your back office, pull up your whole organization and either write it down or screenshot it. Screenshot the numbers of how many people are in the morning when you wake up, and when you wake up the next morning, screenshot it or write down. See how much your volume grew that day, and see how many people it grew that day. And for new people, you might want to do it if you have a computer. If not, a notepad. I used to do it in a notepad. That company I told you that faxed me it was very, very easy. They actually, the way I learned this actually, because I didn't do it in my first company, the Big A, they did things a little bit differently, but I was taught by the second company because of what they sent me. And this thing had every piece of information. It had percentages. I knew day to day. Okay, when I looked at that, it broke it down. I knew day to day how many people got in my business, quit my business, what my growth was in percentage. And here's the thing. People are going to quit the business. Customers are going to quit the business. Okay, so your ultimate goal in network marketing is you have to build until you get through the concentration phase, which is getting your people in, just like a company has a concentration phase, and you have to build into the momentum phase. And once you get into the momentum phase, there's momentum that goes like that. You're part of your momentum. At one point, it's going to cross over where you're having more people on a monthly basis join your business than are quitting. And that means your business is going to grow. If you get there and you have a 1 month unbelievable month and you put in 17 trillion in volume overnight, okay, and you think you can sit back, guess what? Okay, there's a reason that happened. Most likely it's not going to hold. You have to build on success month after month, year after year, until you have enough generals out there, okay, who are building with you or without you, who are going to do skinny body care whether you do it or not. That's your ultimate goal. Because if you have that, okay, your business is going to grow every month. Now, I look and I like to have an 11 to 12% growth per month. If I can have 11 to 12% more people come into my business in a month than are quitting my business every month, is it very, very safe in my mind? No, I like to have bigger, but it's a good place to be. Now, if you had 10 people this month, now in the beginning, the numbers where people kind of get confused is your number percentages when you're a newbie look fantastic, because if you start out month one and you just join and you put 50 people in between you and your team that month, okay, and then next month all of a sudden your group grows to 500 people, you just 10 times your day overnight, you know, in 30 days, and you're like, wow, John told me 11% is good. Now I just grew by whatever it is, 1,000%, and that's even amazing. Okay, well, but that's because your group is small at that time. What'll happen is also you don't have attrition. When somebody's new in the business, not many people quit in the first 30 days. You'll have some people who quit. I mean, it's inevitable. You're going to have some people who send back product for refunds. You know, you figure there's going to be about 1% of that happen. But what you have to really do is you have to keep tabs on that. And here's what it's going to do for you. Now when you see, you know there's a problem. Don't wake up in 90 days and you're like, what just happened? Why is my big business stagnating, or why is my business going backwards? Because if you wake up in 90 days and you try to do something about it, you're going to have 90 to 100 days of rebuilding, and you're in trouble. And it's going to be a very stressful time. If you keep barometers on your business, now you don't have to be as anal as me, like I said, okay? But if you keep your eyes on your business every week or twice a week, where you go down and you just jot down the numbers, then do that. One thing I'm actually going to ask Ben to do, for Skinny, is I'd like to be able to actually go back a month or 2 months and 3 months and pull up a report, because I try a month. I know what my volume is, so I screenshot it before bed. But because the end of the month really, since I'm on the East Coast, where we here are in Georgia, and the month really ends midnight Pacific time, it's a 3-hour difference. And I know it's not that big of a difference. It's only a couple of hundred BV, but it bothers me because I want to know the exact number at midnight Pacific time. So it'd be nice, and Ben, I'm sure, can get it done. I'd like to be able to pull reports in the back office, where we'll be able to actually pull up what did we have at close of month midnight that time, and I'm always within a little bit of it, and then this way and then you see, okay, I grew by this amount. The day after the end of the month, you'll see your back office adjust, because it purges out people who didn't order after a couple of months and things like that, or people who quit, and then you're left with a certain number. So you'll go up, then that first day you'll go down, and you want to go up. I also track my volume growth day in and day out. So when I wake up between 7 and 8 every morning, I look at what my volume is. It goes into my notepad, and then the next morning I wake up and I said, okay, my volume grew by 7,200 today. That means if it grows by 7,200 today, there's only 30 days in September. That should be 210,000, blah, 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 blah. And then as the month progresses, I can see exactly where we're at. So in other words, like today is the 9th. So I know that, okay, well, if I was at 7,000 on average, and then all of a sudden today at the morning I wake up, I take the numbers, and all of a sudden now I just dropped off 1,000 on average per day. I didn't get any growth this day. I look through the organization. I pull up my frontline people. Where did that slack off? And I look through that. And as your group grows, and we'll do more intense trainings on this down the road, and I can do some things to show people how to do it. But what you do is you look, and then you identify there's a problem. There's a problem. Okay, this leg is growing great. This team is growing great. This people are reaching out to me all the time. We're getting growth. And this team right here, nobody's called me in the team. I haven't seen anybody on Facebook. And all of a sudden, I saw they just joined the new Lollipop deal. And all of a sudden, now you know, okay, great. There are some people who are going to go over to the new Lollipop deal, but I know that there's a problem there. So I reach out to them. I address the problem, whatever it is. It might not be another company. I'm just using that as an example. But I know where the problem is. I identify it, and then I reach out to those leaders, and I say, okay, let's do it. Pete Delmonico and I are on the phone day in and day out, several times a day. A lot of times it's not about general business. It's about other stuff. But I know what's going on in his life. I know what's going on in his life personally. If he shares it with me, I know all that stuff. So when you know that, you know if there's a problem. Now, if it's a problem that can be fixed and worked on and corrected, then you start fixing, working on it, and correcting it right then and there. It might be a problem that's not fixable. And it might be somebody who's just like, they were gung-ho, you thought they were there, and maybe they don't want to build skinny anymore. Maybe another commitment came up in their life. Maybe it's a health issue. But if you know it, and it's something personal in their life, you let them know that support their team. This way you know that you have to help them support their team. And you know also that you might have to go on a little bit more of a recruiting binge. Now, if your time is being demanded, and you start becoming a leader and you're in the business 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, which none of us on this call in our success line are, and your time is being demanded, well, that's a good thing. Because then what you do is you have to worry about who your next leaders are. Because here's the thing. If you're overwhelmed in your time and you don't have enough time for yourself, that means you're not creating the leaders to duplicate yourself to do what you're doing. So what that means is okay, I have this person, this person, this person, and I'm working with all the people underneath them, but this person's a platinum, and I'm doing all their three-way calls and stuff like that. Well, guess what? You got to work with that platinum to be able to pick up the slack so that they are able to do some of these three-way calls, because that's the only way you're going to get the duplication, okay? Because you're not going to be able to hold this ship, and sail this ship overseas by yourself. So you have to look at that. Now, if you're not getting any phone calls, if you don't get a Facebook message chat, if you have not gotten an email in the last 2 weeks, and your phone hasn't ring or you've gotten a text message by somebody in Skinny Body Care in your group, you don't have a group. Okay, let's just be honest. When I said you have to be brutally honest, if you don't have anybody calling you or anything, and you do have a downline or a team or whatever you want to call it, and you had 50 people, you had 10 people, you had 500 people, but you're not getting any calls for any help, guess what? There's a problem, okay? You're either going to have to go fix it, or you're going to have to go find new people, okay? And that's what you need to do. So, a little long-winded, but...
No, actually, that was a great answer. And I think one of the things that I really just got from what you said was if you're not getting anyone contacting you, one, it's time for you to go rebuild. I think a lot of times we sit around and we wait for people to make moves when they're not making moves. And two, you're trying to get people to become leaders who, one, don't really want to build a business, and two, who don't want to lead. So that means that if they're not taking steps, they're not moving forward, they're not taking any actions to move in the direction to say, waving their flag saying, hey, I'm here, I want to, make some bigger moves, then that just means you need to keep moving, which is, I think, one of the things that Tim had talked about before about, I think both of you guys have mentioned this several times, build wide. You have to just keep looking for people because you never know how your leaders are going to pop out. So you never want to stop and say, hey, I've got 25 people or 35 people. John was able to get to Double Diamond with 35 people. Now I'm set. Well, no, your 35 people may not get you there. You have to constantly look for people. I have over 35 people that I've personally sponsored, and I'm not at Double Diamond, so go figure. So it's not having 35 people. That's not your secret number. It's the quality of the people that you get. So definitely.
You can't push somebody. You can't push somebody. You got to understand, if somebody ever says to me they want to quit the business, my first thing is, great, let me three-way you into the company. I mean, I'm one not for nonsense. I really am. And once they're like, no, that's not what I mean. Well, okay, you said it, so don't say it. But I'll give you an analogy. We just got two puppies, okay, and we were at puppy school last night with them because we're training them because they're freaking maniacs. But they, on a leash, when you pull them, okay, or when you take them out, they will pull my wife around and she starts spinning around. That's what you want. You want a leader who's going to pull you. So people that are in your success line or down line, whatever you want to call it, one of those puppies want to go where they want to go. They're going to pull you, and you're along for the ride to support them, to make sure that they don't run in the street, and to guide them. But those puppies can also, because they're puppies, can get very, very stubborn. Like we were at puppy class last night, and one of them was scared, and it went under the chair, and my wife was trying to pull one of them out. And you couldn't do anything to get this dog to move, the same one that's running around, because she didn't want to move at that time, this puppy. She was being stubborn. The same puppy that will run around like a maniac and run when they want to run are the same ones that people in your group, if they don't want to run and you're like, come on, let's run, come on, let's run, you let them know that we're going to run. Do you want to run with me? And if they want to sit like a stubborn puppy, you go find some other puppies that want to run.
Yeah, agreed. And you know what? Here's the thing. One of the things I've noticed, and of course, I definitely don't have all your years of experience, but you don't have to go drag people to run with you. They usually are there at the track before you get there. So they're already trying something. They're already doing something. They're already either investing their time or their money, and sometimes even like when they're quiet, they're plotting and putting things together behind the scenes. So you usually are not having to drag them. I think when I first got in the industry, one of the things I did was I would check on people constantly. Then I got to a point where I just said, you know what, you wouldn't have to check on someone if they were at their job. Either they would show up or they got fired. So this is the same with this industry. You either show up and do what you need to do, or you don't have a business. So would you agree, or is it kind of different in this?
No, absolutely. I mean, for example, I started seeing, Justin Clark. Justin's down, I think, 2 levels down. And Justin and I had never met, and we recently became friends. We met for the first time actually in Vegas, and it was funny because I started watching his organization, because when I went in the back office, when I do my daily checks, especially when Ben changed the color to green, he was getting a lot of customers, and I started seeing his volume starting to jump up, and I kept seeing Justin Clark, Justin Clark, Justin Clark, Justin Clark. I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing? So I actually started stalking him on Facebook and looking, what kind of stuff he was doing. And come to find out, he'd been talking to Ben about putting a system together, been talking to Tim. We became friends. Now, of course, we talk. And he was on with you on several of your hangouts as well. And that's the type of people you want there. You want there. It's unbelievable. I look back in the organization over time in my history and my career, almost 28 years in the industry, is when you have organizations doing meetings and doing hangouts and doing events and planning and doing all this crazy stuff, and you don't even know that they're in your organization, okay, and then they run into you at an event and they tell you, that's what your ultimate goal is. See, the networking stuff that's going on now with the nonsense of everybody jumping program to program to program, hiding behind a computer 100% and not doing anything but that, okay, and not supporting their team and not answering their phone or not doing that, that does not work for long term. It's just not going to happen, the long term. The stories you hear in network marketing, okay, of the people making the ridiculous incomes, building the organizations and getting, this multiple streams of income that people say for the rookie out there who's never had a significant one stream of income, and they want multiple streams of income, they move on, they're never going to experience that. Okay, they're basically working several jobs. They're not even making minimum wage. Okay, and that's not where you're going to get it. The way that you do it is you work long enough and hard enough to find the exact thing that you said. The people who are at the track before you even get there warming up. The people who are building the business, figuring it out on their own and having success, or not doing it correctly. They come out of the gate. Some of the best people, I have some very young people in the organization. I have some 18-year-old kids who are killing it right now in the business. I mean, literally killing it in the business. And these kids are building some big organizations. And, they're kind of outspoken just like myself, which I love. But when you have these kids out there who, some of them are making mistakes, and some of them I have to pretty much like be a father kind of and want to spank them because they're doing things, because they're so excited. That's what you want. You want people like that, whether it's a kid, young kid, or an adult. I was 19 when I got in this industry. You want people who are going to do it. I'd rather somebody do it and make a mistake over and over and me have to be like, what are you doing? Okay, well, I went after this and, and I didn't do it the right way, and as long as it's not illegal. One of my friends in internet marketing, his name's Russell Brunson. Russell is probably one of the top 10, if not top 5 internet marketers in the world. And Russell tells a story, and me and Russell were hanging out in the Dominican Republic. We had a small event there with about 5 or 6 couples. The wives went, and Russell's kids were there. And we were talking, and Russell tells his story on how he got involved in internet marketing, and he bought this big list off of on a CD-ROM, and he put it in, and he had to plug the modem in underneath the desk because he only had one phone line. And he went and did this, and he told his wife he's going to be rich, and they lived up in Boise, Idaho, and he said, yeah, he goes, don't worry, honey, we're going to do this, and he explained to his wife at dinner that night, all I do is hit the button, put this in, and I got this offer thing that they send out, and when I plug in the phone line, just don't pick it up because the computer's going to have to dial because they only had dial-up modems, and he goes, but this should work, and I believe Russell was working at a factory at the time, and he tells his wife, and his wife said, is this legal, what you're doing? Oh, yeah, it's a spam-free list. I bought it, spam-free. So Russell went that night after dinner, was all hyped up, and he sat there, and he unplugged the phone, plugged in the modem, did what he had to do, and he went to bed. And the next morning, he woke up, and he was going to work, I guess, and his wife said, I'm going to need to use the phone. And he's like, are you sure? And he's like, he goes, honey, I'm going to need to use the phone. He says, all right, well, I'll shut it down before I go to work or whatever. So Russell tells the story. He bends over, goes under the desk, and unplugs the modem and plugs the phone in. And as soon as it hits the outlet, the phone rings. And he says to himself, wow, that's pretty weird. So he picks up the phone, and it was his internet service provider yelling at him. They're going to sue him and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, well, no, you don't understand. I bought this spam-free list. And lo and behold, he was depressed. His wife got scared. He went to work. He shut everything down. And he came home that night, and in his email, okay, he got around doing it. They gave him a chance. And in his email was 6 sales. 6 sales. And I'm talking $7, $8 sales, nothing big. But what it did was it opened the light bulb. He did it the wrong way because he didn't know any better. He was reading some stuff online. He had never done anything with computers. And he tried. And he failed miserably. But what it did is he opened up his eyes that this does work. And today, Russell's company do $20, $30 million a year. And we're talking, he just hit his 10-year anniversary from that date of that fiasco. Russell's consulted with Tony Robbins and been to Namali and Fiji. And his experience was wrong. It could have knocked him out of the business, but he tried. He was a hustler. And he went and he learned to do it the right way. And he was a kid, too. He was in it. I believe Russell at that time was 21 or 22. I think he was still going to college at the time, and he was wrestling. But with that, those are the kind of people you want that are going to try, that come to you and say, I have this idea to do it this way. I have this idea to do it that way. And for you to say, because you're the upline or the success line, you can't do that. Well, why? Well, if we do it this way or that way, that might be work. But the ones who try, the ones who sit back, never call you, sign up, and you're never going to hear from them again, that's a different story. There's nothing you can do. I have people who come to me all the time. They sign up. They have, I'm going to do this. I'm going to call you next week. We're going to get started. All of a sudden, 2 months go by. I get, hey, John, I'm sorry. I was going to call you, but life came up and this. But next week, I'm going to call you. Again, no call. And that'll go on for 6 months, and all of a sudden, you see that they don't order and they go away. And I still feel bad for those types of people, but I can't pull someone. When somebody signs up in the business and does that, they have to reach out to me and say, I'm ready to run. What do I do? Okay, great. Let's do it. When are you going to work your business? The ones who don't, and you're trying to pull them through, and you're calling them every day, and all of a sudden you spoke to them all the time. Now you're calling them all the time. They're in the business and they don't answer your phone. It's because they don't want to talk to you. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to see that they're going to quit and they're not going to be in the business. Why does that happen? I don't know. It's been going on in the industry as long as the industry's been around. So, you want to work with the willing. And if you don't have the willing, okay, and your team is dead, okay, it's easier to build a new fire than revive an old one. Okay, it's much easier to build a new fire than to revive an old one. And you need to have a producer's mindset, because too many people don't understand that if you got into network marketing, which most of the program jumping type people do, they are the takers. Those are the people who want everything in the world, take from others, and give no value. The people who want to provide and assist others to assist others for the person's benefit and their team's benefit and not theirs, eventually will make it. Everybody has different needs and different desires. Okay, what you're trying to get out of this business shouldn't be forced down the throat of people in your group. You might want to be a millionaire in the business. Okay, these people might be going to a food bank, okay, and you don't know it, and all they want to do is have enough to be able to put groceries on their table because they're one paycheck away from being evicted or something like that. So you have to learn, okay, and I wouldn't say, hey, you are you going through some hard times? Start talking to them and say, what do you want out of the business? What time can you do? And if they start telling you that their wife and them have 2 jobs each, and their mother-in-law is, they're living in their mother-in-law's basement, and their mother-in-law takes care of their kids, well, guess what? I'm pretty sure that they're in some financially bad times. They don't want to hear the millionaire stuff. You can talk to them about it. You can get them on the webinars and stuff like that. Okay, your job with them is to make them believe that they can do it, because that's all they really care about. When somebody gets in the business, they don't really care about, they want to know if the company is legal, moral, and ethical, if it's a real product, and is the product really working, okay, and can they do it themselves? And if they believe that, and then they believe that you'll help them, then they'll succeed. And that's all they really need to know.
John, I think when you were talking about Russell's story, I'm jotting down some notes, but a couple of things came to mind for me. The first thing was that first, let me back up a little bit. When I got started a few years ago in network marketing, actually it's been 2 years. So I'm not nearly nowhere as experienced, but that was a similar experience, is that I felt my way forward. And I think for anyone that's listening, if you guys kind of missed that point, it was that he kept trying. And I think a lot of what happens in this industry, in just my 2 years of being in it, I've seen people who come in and they're so quick to quit that they never give themselves a chance to have any level of success. And I always say that you attract who you are. So if you're a quitter, you're going to attract more people who are not going to stick around. If your intentions is to only get in and you say, well, I'll give it a try for 30 days, and you're going to attract, if you attract anyone, you're only going to attract people who have no intentions on staying around more than 30 or 60 days. So if you're talking about having the type of long-term success, you have to look at this as any other business. I always tell people, when I get into a business, my intention is to look at it the same way that I did my offline business. I'm here for the duration and longevity. And just like John said, it's 3 to 5 years. So I just wanted to point that out for any of you guys who are listening, because I get a lot of emails from people because they see me on the Hangout, so that, you know, their assumption is I'm already making $1 million. Well, I'm not yet. I've done very well in another business. However, it's because I busted my butt putting in 20 hours a day, or, you know, I don't even know how long to get to that point where I was creating a 5-figure a month income. But it didn't happen overnight. It came from, you know, actually about 5 years of putting in the time before I actually joined the company, of doing the work behind the scenes. So it didn't happen like that. It happened from me building my name up, building my reputation, and building relationships. But John's talking about that. I want to hear a little bit about your story of where you came from, because I think that part is the most fascinating thing, especially for me, because every time we talk, and then like, you know, we were hanging out this weekend, and you know, we've all become friends now, which I've got to send your wife an email too about getting together for lunch. But you know, every time Lamont and I talk, we're always just like really fascinated with your background. And I think for people who don't know you or know where you come from, they just kind of hear you rattling off numbers, and we talk about how you're a millionaire and how you've created all this. But I really would like for people to hear where you've come from and how you got to this stage, because, you know, we talk about not quitting, but I also like for them to hear your story so they understand that it's not just about not quitting, but what you've overcome, and just all of the things that you had happen to you in life, but how you're still here, and how you still achieved all this success. Because I think people make excuses up. They go, oh, I have 2 kids, so I can't do any work. Or I work a full-time job, so I'm not going to be able to have any success. Or I have this going on. I mean, they make up so many different excuses. It's just ridiculous. So I just kind of like for them to hear your story so that they can cut all that crap out right here and right now.
All right. Well, I definitely appreciate that, and yeah, and I like becoming friends with people in the organization, regardless if they're in our organization, above us in the organization, not in the organization. We made some great friendships in Vegas, and that's what the business is about. And I like to tell people, I didn't have a normal childhood, because I always tell people I don't have a mother. I came to life when a child made a wish on a doll in a toy store. If you think about that, you might understand it. But I was born into you know, a pretty normal family. I always thought, you know, that we were wealthy, but I found out later in life it was because my grandparents had money, and they were, you know, taking care of my parents because they couldn't. But I always wanted to work at a young age, and I always had a weight problem. And my mother had me on every diet from 8, 9 years old. I mean, I can remember back being on Weight Watchers multiple times, OptiFast, MediFast, Nutrisystem, cookie diets, liquid diets, and everything else. And I was only 20, 30 pounds overweight. I had to get the pants at the Husky store at Sears, and but I wasn't a fat kid. I was just a chunky, husky kind of kid. But my mother was embarrassed of me going to family functions, whether it was a wedding for the family or a bar mitzvah or anything that other family members would see us. So she had me on diets. So it made me self-conscious. You know, it's kind of funny. I'm friends with people on Facebook who see my before and after picture now, and they say to me, I didn't remember you having a weight problem in elementary school or junior high and high school. And I remember that's all I used to think about. I wasn't the thin kid in school, and you know, like some of the other jocks and things like that. So I left home at an early age. I left home at 17 years old. I got married young. But when I left home, I had been dieting, but I was gaining about 80 pounds per year. And I went into the selling cars for the first few months out of high school. I didn't go to college because I ended up meeting a girl and getting married later. But what happened is I was gaining about 80 pounds per year, because whatever I do, I have an obsessive compulsive personality. I always wanted it. I'll never forget when I was younger, I cried because I was 10 years old and they wouldn't let me have a paper route. I applied and they said I was too young. I always wanted to make my own money. I left home. I got a job selling cars, left that. And you know, when I was 18, I went into the financial services industry. And when I did that, I set some records there, and I got involved in network marketing at 19, and dabbled in that and did very, very well while I was gaining about 80 pounds per year. And one day, a couple of weeks before Christmas in 1992, I woke up and I was, at that time I didn't know, but I was over 500 pounds. And I went over to a friend's house because it was before Christmas, and we went over to see him and his family. And when I walked into his mother's house, his mother, he looked at me and his mother. I think we're getting feedback. We're getting some feedback.
It's okay over here.
All right. I thought I heard it coming through. It sounded like it was coming back. Now it's coming back. I'm getting it. I don't know if I'm checking the chat room and see if anybody sees. So we went over there, and my friend looked at me and said, "You're gonna die." And I'm like, "Nice to see you. Merry Christmas." He goes, "You need to talk to my mother because my mother is having gastric bypass." She was in the other room. And so I sat down with his mother, and I said, "No, you don't understand. For Christmas, I'm going to go on Nutrisystem again and Opti something and Weight Watchers or whatever else." And so I sat down with his mother, and she talked me into going and seeing this doctor she had saw. She was scheduled to have surgery in a couple of weeks. And make a long story short, I went and saw that doctor. He saw me, weighed me, and he didn't know if he could do my surgery because of my size. He had never done somebody at that weight. And he said, "If you pass the test that we do, then I'll do the surgery." And I went and had every test known to man. I was in perfect health. The only reason I was perfect healthy was because of my age. And he said, "But if I keep this on much longer, I'll probably be dead." I ended up having the surgery before my friend's mother. There was 2 weeks before that when Dallas kicked off the ball in 1993 at the Super Bowl. 5 minutes after the game, it was 2 weeks before my surgery, I got a phone call. My brother-in-law had a massive heart attack and died on Super Bowl Sunday. So my ex-wife at that time now was dealing with me going in for surgery and her brother just dying of a heart attack. 2 weeks later, I go in for surgery. They weigh me. I was 652 pounds the day of surgery. They had to use a special scale. And I had a gastric bypass. Lost the weight, started doing talk show circuits. A lot of people have heard that story before. And got back into network marketing and motivational speaking. And did that and lost all the weight. Ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, and decided to start group and picking the first drink of alcohol I liked. And in 6 months, I became a full-fledged alcoholic. Now you're talking. I was doing this while I was extremely successful. I had the cars, I had the jewelry, I had the residual. And 6 months I destroyed my now ex-wife left with my son, who I never saw again. And another 6 months, I lost everything. And lost everything. Lost all the money. Lost all the houses. Lost all the cars. Lost all the friends. Lost all the businesses. Ended up going to jail. A little under, just over 14 months in Dallas, and coming out from jail to nothing. And didn't know what I was going to do. Wandering around the streets of Dallas. Still had a huge ego. And walked around for 2 or 3 days. A homeless man up to me and said, "You don't have any place to go, do you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course I do. I have a big house in Plano and Really?" He goes, why don't you come with me? So we started walking and handling the bottle, and I got drunk with him. He showed me the homeless shelter in Dallas, Texas, and that's where I started hanging out and ended up living for quite a while in homeless shelters, halfway houses, rehabs, and not one, not two, but over 50 times. From hanging out with drug dealers to drug addicts while I was drunk to guns being put at my head, guns being put in my mouth, living in the streets, in the woods, and panhandling for money. And still in the back of my mind is Jon, the great guy, because of my ego, who had lost, who had had everything. I was still living that in my mind. So I was in rehab. I ended up meeting somebody who I had known from the party scene. He ended up offering me a job. I told him no, I didn't want the job. I went to another halfway house. I went to another rehab. And this time they put me in a house and they let me get a job after 30 days. These guys that were in the rehab in the halfway house taught me how to stay drunk and pass the test so I could live there and also have a job. And I went and got a job in Joe's Crab Shack in the west end of Dallas, Texas as a server. Never been a server before in my life. I only had one corporate job in my life, and that was with a financial services company. And it was kind of funny. I became a waiter, and I was making a lot of money. I was making, over $1,000 a week, all cash, and all they liked to do was party, except I had restrictions on my time because I had to be back to the halfway house. And after about 3 or 4 months, I ran into that guy at one of the after patient care meetings who I met at that rehab, and he offered me that job again, and went there, and it was jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. It was a debt settlement company in Dallas, Texas. I ended up making a lot of money there, and got into a lot of trouble there. And when I got into a lot of trouble there, I spun out of control. I tried to get back into network marketing. I was making great money, went to Habs, but these guys who owned that company really didn't care. They were drug addicts themselves and partiers. And met a guy and ended up being talked into moving up to Montana, and I was able to get a vacation home that this guy was losing all his homes up there, and figured if I moved to Montana, I could get my life together, because there's probably, the reason I'm getting in trouble because it was Dallas, Texas. Ended up moving up to Montana and getting into worse trouble. Got arrested up there. It was a nightmare. And I got worse into my alcoholism as possible, and I just wanted to die at that time. And at that point, things were just falling apart. And one day, I was on Facebook. It was when nobody was really on Facebook, and I got an instant message, and I was drunk. And it says, I don't know if you remember me, but our mothers used to be best friends. I used to babysit for your little brother, and we grew up together in New York. And I knew exactly who it was when I looked at who she was, because I started stalking her profile. And I said, yeah, I know who you are. And she had found me through some mutual friends. And she said, my mother would like to, hook up with your mother and reconnect. She didn't know that my own parents disowned me for the most part. I had hardly spoke to my parents at all because of my alcoholism. They basically told me they didn't have a son anymore, and that's how it is still to this day. But she put down a phone number, and she said, well, if you could ever do it, she put down a phone number. So I, of course, thought it was her phone number, and I called it, and it was her mother, not her. And I spent about 5 hours drunk on the phone catching up with her mother, who knew me since I'm 7 years old and hadn't seen me since I'm 13 years old. After that phone call, I told her, well, have Gina call me someday. And she said, well, she's going through a divorce. She lives in Georgia, but she'll call you someday. And someday was 3 weeks later. I got a phone call from Gina. We spent the whole night on the phone while I was drunk. And we started talking on the phone, day in and day out, hours at a time. I ended up going to California to start some other businesses, went there, they didn't work out. And we kind of started dating on the phone. And she invited me to come to Georgia to see her. And she saw me at the worst of the worst of the worst. And I came back to Georgia after spending 2 weeks here, spent New Year's, and I never left. Gina is now my wife, if you all know that. I got married to Gina last September at an industry event in Las Vegas on September 27th. And Gina was with me for the last 8 months of my drinking. Gina rushed me to the hospital. Gina thought she was there sitting by my bedside when they thought I was brain dead and had wet brain, and I pretty much wasn't going to make it. And Gina's the reason that I also went to rehab for the last time. And I went there, and I was going to break out of rehab, and I stuck through it. Went through rehab. She came and visited me and got out of rehab, and I was scared. She brought me home, drank again, and that was a long time ago. And I ended up started building my businesses. But what I started realizing at that point is it is what it is. I was living in my past way too much, where I always was thinking, man, if I could get back what I had, man, if I could do this, if I, this. I was living in, I wasn't allowing myself to move forward, and I was staying drunk all the time. Once I realized it is what it is does it suck? Absolutely, it does suck. But you know what? I can't change it. Do I ever want to go through it again? Absolutely not. But I can't change it. So let me compartmentalize it, which I'm very good at, and move forward. And that's what I did. And a couple of days turned into a week turned into a couple of weeks, a month, and never had to go back to AA again. I didn't want to be around it. I can be around alcohol all the time now. I have more alcohol people a lot of people who have been at my house and seen the alcohol and bars and stuff, and I'd rather have my diet iced tea or soda or something like that. And I just move forward. And I tell you what, my life, from people, once I accepted it and I said it is what it is, and I'm sure there's people who are listening who have similar problems in different ways. It might be a problem with a kid, it might be a problem with an addiction, it might be a problem with the finances, it might be a problem with whatever, or even worse, a health issue. It's not that you're not going through it, but it is what it is. Okay, you got to deal with it. And if it's something that you don't have to deal with, that you compartmentalize it, you get rid of it. And once I did that, my life changed around, where people hear about stories over time, almost overnight. And where I show you that diagram of a network marketing company from formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability, I didn't even remember going through formulation and concentration. My life turned around and did a complete 180. And now people see me now, okay, and it's totally different. And my book came out last year, which everybody's welcome to go get a free digital copy of. You can go download a digital copy. If you don't have that, I'll give you the site in a minute if Pam wants me to. But people are going to have issues, and once you realize that you're not going to get back what you used to have, and you're going to have to start creating something for the future and move on, that's the only way you're going to get past it. And it doesn't matter what it is. If you're having a health issue, you have to deal with the health issue, but life goes on while you're doing it. If you're having to deal with addiction, you're going to have to deal with that addiction. And some people could be deeper in addiction, and it could be financial or whatever it is. But guess what? It is what it is. And sabotaging yourself and not doing something, or sabotaging your skinning business, or I'll show you, and doing all kinds of nonsense, is just going to get you worse off. And it's going to get you worse off in your mindset or anything else. And my son, one of the hardest days of the year is August 31st. My son just turned 20 on August 31st. And I had lost parental rights in court, shown up many years ago. And I haven't seen my son since July 17th, 2002. And it's rough, and it's, people see me all the time. And when Gina wasn't around, before Gina, I didn't celebrate Christmas or Father's Day or Mother's Day or holidays or anything anymore. I stayed mostly drunk through them, 24 hours a day. And now that we're married and she has her family, which is my family now, I have brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws, and she's got a huge family. It still, even with me and my personality, it still takes some time to accept that, because I had to learn to basically live by myself, and that I didn't want to be around people. And network marketing became my family. You know, other than my wife and her family, network marketers are my family. That's why it really hurts me when I do get close to somebody in network marketing and they do something stupid to sabotage themselves, and I know it's going to hurt them, and I know what the end result's going to be, almost like it's a crystal ball, because they are my family. So it takes a lot for me to get very engaged with people in my business, but once I do, it's totally different scenario. But I have to be very, very standoffish a lot, because you have a lot of people who come at you, and want to be, in the inner circle and everything else, and still kind of stand off, because a lot of people are going through some things or doing some things that I know that they probably won't change from. And I don't like to get into a relationship and devote my time and effort to somebody if if it's going to be short term. And I'm the type of person that if you give me 5%, I'm not going to give you anything. If you give me 100, okay, I'm going to match you 100. But I'm not going to build your business for you. I'm not going to be the one who always changes for a relationship. It's very hard, even with my wife, try to change her all the time. People say happy wife, happy life. I'm like, yeah, what about the husband? How about me? Happy me, happy me. And I'm still about that. And so if whatever I'm saying is that, because the question you asked at the beginning is, I went through a lot. You only heard 1% of it. There's a lot more to it, a lot more dirty stuff. And I vowed that I shouldn't be here 50 times over. I should be dead in the hospital. I should be dead from gunshot wounds. I should be dead from flipping over cars and rolling them over 10 times. I should be dead for many, many reasons. And for some reason, I'm not. And I've gotten chances over and over and over and over and over, when some people don't even get, but that one chance and they're gone. So I'm very different now. I'm very outspoken, very opinionated, but I back up opinions with fact. And the industry probably kept me alive before Gina, but now that I do have my mind back and I do have my senses back and I can make rash decisions and they're not clouded by all this nonsense, whether from me sabotaging myself, I will attack to protect the industry. And so I'm very harsh, and the reason being is because people don't understand this industry can give you everything you want, and there's a lot of companies and people destroying it. And so and one thing I said, what, a lot of people are scared to say some of the things I say about the industry, because they haven't built up enough of a reputation that people will take it seriously. So they sit back and they kind of get hurt in the industry. I'm not afraid to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, if it's true, I'm going to say it. If it needs to be called out, out. Say it's bashing, you're doing this. No, giving fact and things to protect the industry when something's going wrong, and to call it out, okay, needs to be done. It needs to be cleaned up. Because this is the last, our economy sucks. People are working multiple jobs. Kids are being raised by, foster homes, and kids are being raised, by nannies, or daycare, because, parents have to work 2 or 3 jobs each to support their kids or go without. And, network marketing can be the savior for a lot of that. And the more bad companies we have out there, having only, even 50 great companies, even if there was $50 billion network marketing companies, there's, people like to see the negative about it. I mean, even you see, a huge company like Herbalife, who's been around, going on 40 some odd years, 30, some odd years, they're taking shots by the stock market because, you have a guy like Bill Ackman, who's a freaking idiot, and I'm glad he lost $1 billion rate on paper. But he attacks the industry when you have a company along the lines that's maybe do they have to clean up some things? Maybe some distributors got carried away. Of course, they're such a big company that they can't police it as a small company can. But when you see companies like that getting shots taken at them, I get offended. But then when you see these other companies who are people in it for the short term, and it's hurting the industry overall, and it's being done over and over and over and over and over and over and over, it eventually is going to jeopardize the whole industry. And because they can sneak in a law, they can do this or they can do that. So I protect it with everything, not just from a business standpoint, because network marketing was my family when I didn't have anything. Some of my memories when I was laying in bed and wanted to die in a homeless shelter drunk was of the events that I went to with people, and images would pop into my head. So I don't want to get all mushy on you and stuff like that, but that's where I come from. Can't hear you.
Turn my mic on. I was causing feedback. I appreciate your transparency, and I appreciate every time I hear your story, you always share a little bit more. And I think it helps people realize that, one, you can come back from anything. I think when you say you've had multiple opportunities to come back, I mean, you really have. And the thing is that it seems like each time you've just kind of risen higher and higher, and it just shows your determination to succeed. Guys, if you're watching this, you're not part of Skinny Body Care, you're not part of the Dream Team, and you're looking for a place to grow your business, start your business, or call home, this is the type of training that you get. This is the type of leadership that we have involved. So either get back in touch with the person who put you on this hangout tonight, or go ahead and click on the link on the page and get started. We have so many things to offer as far as a company. What I like most is that we have true leadership. We actually have people who are going to guide you and give you the type of resources and information you need to not just make money, because you can go make money anywhere. I'll just be quite honest with you. You can make money anywhere. But this is, to me, about building wealth, building long-term residual income, which is how you build wealth, and teaching you what you need to do in order to have a sustainable business for life. So that's what this is all about. And I love that the leaders in our company focus on teaching you how to stay in for 3 to 5 years, and that's the emphasis. Whereas some companies, they're all about emphasizing on getting that quick cash, and not that you can't come in here and make money immediately, because we do have fast start bonuses. You do have the opportunity to come in and start generating an immediate income. But with our top leaders in this industry, they're teaching you how to do that, but also how to set yourself up so that you can retire. If your goal is to make $5,000 a month, and there's a plan for that. If your goal is to make $50,000 per month, there's a plan for that. If your goal is to make over $100,000 a month, like our Crown Diamond leaders, then you also can achieve that by joining our company. So I want you guys to really pay attention to Jon, what he's saying, and how he's been able to accomplish this, because this wasn't a long time ago. I want to kind of get Jon to clarify that, because we're not talking about this happened to Jon 50 years ago. We're talking, how many years did this go, Jon? 5?
5.
Okay. So 5 years ago, folks, I mean, we're talking, he said 3 to 5 years how you can build your business and get it to where you want to be, and he's basically rebuilt his entire life in a 5-year period of time. So you imagine, what would you be able to do if you really kind of concentrated and focused your energy to build this business? What do you really think that you could accomplish if you were under the leadership of people like Jon, like Tim? I mean, what do you think you could really accomplish? So I just really wanted to point that out, is that if he could come back from literally living hell in the last 5 years, what do you think is possible for you if you really put your mind to it? I mean, every time I hear his story, it brings chills to me, because it's just fascinating. We always talk about what, we talk about some of the things we have going on in our life, and I mean, it feels, because it really is minor. I think about some of the things I went through, over the last 5 or 6 years when I lost my company and went bankrupt, and none of it is still in comparison anything like what Jon has been through. And he hasn't even shared the entire story. He gave us the abbreviated version. I've heard more of his story, and if you guys heard every single thing he's been through and how he's still gotten to this place in his life where he's built $1 million business, and now both him and his wife are diamonds with Skinny Body Care. No one has any excuse to talk about why they can't build a business with this company. So, Jon, one of the things that I think you do so well is you do an excellent job of breaking down how this company pays. I think you do an excellent job of explaining to people how they actually make money. And I never really understood compensation plans very well. I just kind of get in and do what I need to do and know that the money is going to follow. But I think for someone who's looking at this company for the first time, I don't think anyone can break it down like you. I mean, once I heard you explain it, it was the first time I really understood it, and it actually made sense to me. So can you kind of explain to people how you make money in this business and why Skinny Body Care is the business that beats all? Because the way that you explained it, I had several people in the Hangout before, they were like, I've never heard it explained the way that Jon explained it. And I think when people hear it, they understand the uniqueness of what it is that we offer versus what anyone else is doing, and two, how it's very, very, very reasonable for them to be able to create $1 million business in the next 3 to 5 years by using this program.
Sure. By the way, can I plug my book first?
Please do. I was hoping that you did that because I think it's a good book for them to read, so absolutely.
Yeah, I think I forgot to do it last time on the last Hangout. But you guys, if you want a free copy of my digital copy of my book, not the hard copy, but the digital copy, you can go to imasteredfailure.com, imastered with a D, failure.com. And Pam might want to put it in the chat rooms. The comp plan. First of all, here's what I want to tell you. A company that brings in $1, if they were stupid, they could pay out the whole dollar, but they'd go out of business. So first of all, you can't turn $1, okay, into $1.50 or $3 or $10. That's the first thing. Because if you're doing that, first of all, if the company's not making any money, the company's going out of business. So the company's going to make some money in there. But these companies who are paying out more money than is being brought in, okay, that means somebody's losing. If somebody is making $2 for every dollar that's being brought in, okay, I don't care what math or anything else, God didn't come down and teach him a different way. Unless it's a counterfeiting program, okay, you're not doing that. If somebody's winning that well, somebody's losing, okay, and that's what most of these programs out there today are, okay, which are known as Ponzi schemes or these rev share nonsense that are out there. So let me get off that right there. So the real companies, and there's only 13 of the billion-dollar-a-year companies. There's a lot more of the companies that are doing, you know, the 50, the 100, the 200, 500 million dollars a year. They have comp plans that you're going to work, okay, and you're going to work them 3 to 5 years. And those companies are well-balanced comp plans, which means there's not just one avenue where the money's coming in, and that's the only way you're going to build your business. And what do I mean by that? In Skinny Body Care, you have to give time for the compensation plan to work its way out on the residual side. On the residual side. One of the reasons you have to do that with Skinny is because we have a real product that really works with real customers in the business. And Skinny has a ratio of, you know, 80% customers. So because of that, if you're new to the business and you're thinking when you're getting in, and when I discussed it on the last Hangout, I believe, is that it used to be that if somebody got in the business, their goal was to be making $1,000 a month after a year. That was an amazing goal, and when they hit that, they were ecstatic. And then their goal was $5,000 a month in about 2 to 3 years. and then retire wealth or real residual in 3 to 5 years. That's what traditional network marketing is. That when you do build it and you decide to walk away, your income will stay there. Okay. Now, depends how you build your business in the beginning as well. Now, you have to give it time to play out. So what does that mean? The way that Ben has it set up is that when you're new to the business, okay, you're going to make the majority of your money on fast starts. Okay. Now, if the person who sponsors someone the first month is making the majority of the fast start, that means their sponsor and the upline from there on the first month's order is not making that much money. Why? Because the fast start bonus is set up there for the individual to go out and work hard, or if they want to, they could even retail product, they could do that as well. Okay, but that's where the money for the first month is. So when people get in and say, I sponsored, or I brought a guy in and that guy sponsored 30 people and his check was this, but mine was this, absolutely. Because the guy underneath you sponsored all those people and he's building his organization, and that first month he's being rewarded more than everybody else. He brought them to the table, and that's how it should be. Now, as that starts to duplicate and your group starts to grow, okay, the residuals start to kick in. And that's why when you start to see some of the numbers where the average platinum makes $4,000 a month, okay, that doesn't mean when Ben ran a special for platinums, half volume, which, platinum, you need 3 gold legs and 10,000 in volume, and Ben read the special before the convention that you could hit title and rank with half the volume, okay, and which means the people underneath you, the golds and the silvers, only need half the volume. That doesn't mean if you hit platinum with 5,000 in volume when Ben ran the special that you're going to make $4,000 that month, okay? What happens is you need to have a mature organization. A mature organization, depending on how fast your organization is building, is 6 to 9 months. So you need to time for your organization to grow, and you have to hold that level. If you pop up to platinum and you fall down to silver, okay, you don't have a mature organization. A platinum that's growing, that's holding it for a mature organization, that's where you're getting the income disclosures. That's what things are based on. And the same thing for diamond, the same thing for crown diamond, the same thing for silver and everything else. So the way you make money in skinny body care, if you want to make money fast, is sign up a lot of people. Sell gold packs and silver packs. Buy 2 get 1 free and buy 3 get 1 free, because you're going to get the fast starts, and that's going to be a good supplemental income. Okay, what your goal is to keep getting up to each level. Is you sponsor like mad, go wide, rank up. I did it. It's like a Christmas tree from the bottom up. Go wide, rank up. Go wide, rank up, go wide, rank up. Now, going back to where you're taking a barometer of your business, when you go wide, if you went wide and you're not ranking up, what do? You go wide again, because you don't have anybody duplicating. You're a massive sponsorer, something like that. You're a good person to sponsor. What happens is I know people who are tremendous people at sponsoring people. I mean, they can blow me out of the water. I mean, these guys are just hardcore sponsoring, but they get no duplication. And then I know people who sponsor a few people, and you don't see them, but the people that they sponsor are quality people. You're trying to find a happy medium because you're looking for the better person. For example, Tim Miller. Tim Miller joined the business in January of 2011 when the company started. The company started on January 20th, 2011. The reason I know that date is my birthday is January 19th. Not 2011. So Tim will tell the story, and you've heard him say it, who's the Crown Diamond. Tim has sponsored over 300 people. Tim has 13 people left out of those 300. And his organization in customers, I believe, is somewhere between 20 and 25 or 30,000, I think he's got. And somewhere distributor-wise, I think it's about 20. Yeah, because we discussed this in Vegas. 20,000. That's what he has on total number or whatever. But he was a person who sponsored 300 and some people over his now whatever, a little over 3.5 years into the business. So when you're going wide, getting the fast starts, and you're ranking up, you might have some runners. That's what you're looking for. Once you identify those runners, you want to run with them to achieve their goals, okay? Okay, to provide value to them to hit their goals. Pete Delmonico got in the business a few hours after me. When I contacted Pete and said we were going to run with this, asked him what he thought, he said, I'm all in. I got some weight I want to lose. I was going on vacation the next week. We had to go to a wedding in Arizona. Pete, I ended up, because of Pete's growth and some of the stuff that I was doing, we ended up hitting platinum in our first 2 weeks. And then right after that, Pete said, I'm going for diamond. Pete had this growth, and I was actually away. And when I came back from Arizona, Pete gives me this whole breakdown on he's going to hit diamond. And I actually called Tim, and Tim and I kind of laughed, let him think what he's going to want to do. There's no chance he's going to hit diamond. And everybody knows the story. Pete hit diamond in 42 days and broke the record. He made, I even said to Pete, in a kind of a nice way, I guess, there's no chance that you're hitting, I said some other words, but no chance you're hitting diamond. He's, I'm going to do it. And he said, all I need is to do this. And if I get this person here, and if they do that, and I help them do this, and we do this amount of gold packs per day, boom, 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 boom. And he let his team know that he was shooting for it, and everybody did it. And he reverse engineered diamond. He knew he needed 50,000 in volume. He knew he needed 3 platinum legs. He knew those 3 platinum legs each needed 3 gold legs, and then so on and so on and so on. And he went there and he found out who his 3 platinum legs were going to be. Now, if you could do it with more platinum legs, it's better because you have a safety net. And then he went to those platinums. He said, let's sit down and let's develop a game plan on the phone. And he did it right away and went through. And everybody was shooting for the same thing. They needed 13 gold packs each per day. And I'll be damned, he did it. And one thing he said to me was, John, are you going to beat me to diamond? Because, of course, I had the volume, okay, because, I sponsored Pete, and Pete was worried that I might have had something else and was going to be able to beat him, because if he hit 50,000 volume, of course, I would have had it. And I was just helping, doing 3-way calls, whatever we needed, and trying to fill the gap. And if everybody knows, I hit platinum I hit diamond in July, and I was a very strong platinum. I had $150,000 a month in volume as a platinum, but I had to build the other leg. And if you look at that, is Pete wanted his team, he wanted to hit diamond, and the only way he was going to do that is provide value for his team and do it. Okay, so he went wide, found out who his leaders were, and ranked up. And it's a perfect scenario because he went extremely wide. He can tell you better on one of the hangouts he eventually does here again, because I think he was on one with you a couple weeks ago, I think the week before me. But he'll tell you the exact numbers. I could look back. But he went wide, found the 3 people, and ranked up. And now he's doing the exact same thing because he wants to build for the end of the year. He wants to build to crown. So that's what you have to do. Now, when you do that, okay, you're with in network marketing. Yeah, you can get rich, extremely rich, and make a lot of money going wide because you're matching, and then you're starting to match on everybody in your organization, and I'll touch on that in a second. But then depth, okay, with duplication is where wealth comes in. There's a big difference between being wealthy and being rich, okay, because you really can't peel away, I'll be nice, wealth. Rich you can, trust me, been there, done that. Rich you can lose rich. Wealth is pretty hard, even if you're one of the Kennedy kids, it's pretty hard to get rid of wealth. Now, our comp plan, you don't see this. I consult with companies all the time. And when I'm brought in to consult with a company or develop a new comp plan, the exact thing that they do is they want to dangle carrots to show a plan that makes a lot of money for the top distributors only, and that the company also makes a lot of money. The way they achieve this is something called breakage, no matter if you have a binary or a stair step or anything else. Breakage is designed so that a smoke and mirrors, a company will pay this, but in actuality, There's never going to be a company paying out more than this. And the reason they're able to do it is they don't implement certain things. They do things like, if you do this, we'll give you a Lamborghini, or we do this, we'll give you a car bonus. We'll give it to you now. You see these car bonuses at a lower amount because they want people to qualify for these cars so that they're stuck with a car payment, so that they have to make the car payment. So it forces them kind of into the business, and you have a loan that you're responsible for. The way that companies avoid breakage is something called compression, okay, and generational code. If you look at back offices of companies and they're running matching bonuses, every one of them, for the most part, there's very few, like Skinny Body Care, okay, what they do is they give you levels of bonuses. A level bonus means if I sponsor Pam and Pam sponsors somewhere else and someone else, so people who I sponsor, I call them my children. People that my people sponsor are my grandchildren, people on my third level are my great-grandchildren, and so on. Those are your levels. Now, in companies that have matching bonuses with levels, okay, and you're matching on a certain amount of levels, well, here's what happens. If I sponsor Pam and Pam sponsors Bill and Bill sponsors Tom and so on and so forth, down 7 levels, and I'm in a level match company, or I'm on a title match company. Let's say I'm getting matched on my diamonds and golds, but that diamond or that first superstar comes in on my 7th level. I basically have 6 people in between me and the superstar blocking my income. And that means the company doesn't have to pay out those bonuses. And if the company doesn't have to pay those bonuses, is it out there to earn? Absolutely. Can it be earned? Absolutely not, unless I get those 6 people to quit. And I've been in companies where I've paid people big checks to quit, because we built companies in the 90s where that's what it was. And by one person quitting meant an extra $100,000 or $200,000 in income to us. So for us to write a check to $25,000 for them to quit was done all day long. We'd go to dinner and we'd have one person speaking, and that's the ugly side of network marketing. And the company wouldn't do anything. They wanted those people in between. So let me give you a scenario. I bring Pam in. She's gung-ho. She loves the product. She's losing weight, everything else. She starts to tell her friends she does it, and she sponsors a few people, and they sponsor a few people. And then all of a sudden, all those people quit. Pam loves the product, but life comes up, and she doesn't want to build the company anymore. And that same thing for her organization. But they just happen to luck out and have that person down deep. I'm losing all my money, and the company's absorbing it. Now, what does Skinny Body do? We have generational match. Generational coded match. What does that mean? If I have a customer who loves the product or a distributor who's not doing anything, it doesn't make a difference. The computer searches down, and I get matched depending on my current title. Back in the back office, you can look at the specifics on every bronze and silver and gold, multiple bronze, silver, gold. So what does that mean? If I have customers and everything else in between and non-working distributors, and my first gold is all the way down there, that gold is just like he's on my front line. And that goes for the next gold and the next gold and the next silver and the next silver and the next silver. The computer searches down based on title, then I'm done. So if you have an unranked person in between you and a diamond who's on your 5th level, doesn't make a difference. That diamond is just like he's on your 1st level. And guess what? I get paid on the next diamond underneath them, and the next diamond underneath them, and the next diamond underneath them. That's what generational code is. So, how do you make big money in Skinny Body Care? First, fast starts in the beginning so you can survive while you give your time in your organization to build and mature, and then the matching bonus. All the money's in the match because you match their matrix checks. Remember that. Now, I've been in the company 6 months. On next Thursday, I won't do the math again because I saw somebody said don't let them do math again in the chat room. All right, let me take a sip of water here. I lost my train of thought. I've been in the company 6 months. And if you look at my back office, I have right around 3,000 some odd people, and I have matching checks. So one thing I encourage you to look at is I'm getting matches on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every week. Thousands now, I think, something in thousands. But if you look back in the back and you click on your check, if you've been in the business for 2-3 months, look in the back and you can start to figure out the comp plan, because what you'll see is bronze and silver, and you'll see the money that you're making on how it exponentially grows. But then you'll start to see all these names when you click on the check and you see the breakdown, and you're going to see 90 cents, and you're going to see all these little amounts of money, and they're going to keep going down and down depending on how many people in your organization. All those checks are what you're matching on those people based upon your level. But when you start to understand the power of it, you don't have to be in the company a long amount of time, and you don't have to have a super long business. Okay, you be in the business a super long time or have a super amount of people in your business if you give your organization time to mature. Why? Because your matching bonuses is based on matrix, and your matrix is not going to be big in the first 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. Okay, but when your checks start to go up in skinny body care, they will go up. Now, if you've been a diamond or you've been a platinum or you've been a gold, and you've experienced that for a few months, and you're right at the border, and your group, remember what I told you when you take the barometer, if you're right at that thing where the amount of people who are getting in are the same amount of people who are quitting every month, and you're borderline, and 1 month, let's say you fell from platinum to gold, you're going to lose half your income because you're not getting the biggest match. So what you do is you take a barometer, so you say, okay, I need to work with, Bill Smith. Okay, that I don't think there's a Bill Smith in my organization, but I have to work with Bill Smith. Why? Because Bill Smith just made me a diamond, and I'm at 52,000 in volume last month. I hit diamond, and guess what? One of my platinums was at 10,050 in volume. He just made it. Congratulations. I've arrived. Well, guess what? If Bill Smith doesn't do anything that month, but his life comes up and all of a sudden goes to 9,950 in volume, and Bill Smith becomes a gold, I become a platinum, and I just cost myself half my income, roughly. I'm not exactly, but normally your platinum bonus will be what your other bonuses are combined. There are other instances, and I'm not going to get into that. I could do advanced trainings down the road. So when you take a barometer of your business, you see where you have to work. My butt would be working with Bill Smith. So every time if I'm going wide and I only got Bill Smith, I'll be working with Bill Smith. Okay. Now, I'd even probably give somebody to Bill Smith. Okay. If I know people and I'm building an organization, I want to secure them. If I've hit rank and I need to solidify that person, okay, once you get up there. Now, if you have somebody who's at 200 in volume, 300 in volume, 500 in volume, and they're saying, John, help me. Okay. You're sponsoring all these people, or you're going to run an ad co-op or whatever else, and get me to platinum next month. I can't help somebody other than working with them and doing three-way calls, getting them to platinum next month. Okay, I'll help somebody if somebody's right about to hit platinum and need a couple of hundred in volume. We'll do what we can at the end of the month, and that's what you do because you want them to rank advance. You want them to hold rank. I had a lady in my organization who we worked with for the last 4 days who had some health issues, and I tracked it till late at night, till the next morning, and was on top of it to make sure that she retained her level because she was right there. And I think 3 or 4 days before, she was about 1,800 in volume, short, and she hit it. Hit it that morning. We wanted it the day before, hit it that morning, and they didn't want to wait. And it was Sunday, because if everybody remembers, the last day of the month was Sunday, I believe, this month. That's how you want to build skinny. You have to give it time for it to work out. You want to make fast money, do fast starts. Okay, you want to do that, and then you want to take barometer of your business, okay, and let it play out. Once you start to understand the comp plan. Now, what I do want to do, I'm going to give you guys a little trick. Ben is probably going to kill me if he sees this. You guys might know because I give it out in private. If you go into your back office, okay, of skinny, and you look where those videos for the comp plan are at the bottom. Okay, how do I say this right? They're YouTube videos, okay? Now, this is how I found out Ben was having new videos made, is because I don't like watching videos in the back office, so I click on the little thing in the bottom right-hand corner that says YouTube. That will bring you to Ben's YouTube channel, where all the new videos were. So you go in the back office, you click the YouTube, it'll bring you there. I think it's something Skinny Pills or something like that is the YouTube channel, something like that. You'll see it. Go in there. Then I want you to do is click on videos for that channel, sort by newest to oldest, and I want you to watch any video from June till now. I think there's only about 8 or 9 of them. They give you about videos that are about 2 to 4 minutes long on every piece of the comp plan, okay? And if you guys don't ever see me on a Hangout again, I probably got terminated. So, no, he shouldn't have him out there because he hasn't been in the back office. But I want you to go through them, and if you don't understand them, watch them again. If you don't understand them, watch them again. They're not very long. And I don't know what order it is because he doesn't name them the right way. You'll see there's like an intro and this and that. But you go in there, and you get to, it'll break down each part of the comp plan. And then even after you watch them enough times, that's what you give your new distributor homework. And give them realistic expectations. Stop telling these distributors, okay, that you're going to make $4,000 a month as an average platinum, okay, in the first 30 days if they hit platinum. Make sure they know it's a mature organization. Okay. Now, if there's somebody like a Crystal Taylor who can go out there and make $1,000 a week in fast start bonuses or something like that, more power to you. But there's very few people who are beasts, you know, like Crystal Taylor. I mean, that girl knows YouTube and Instagram and everything inside and out. Okay. But she also knows that her money comes from fast starts in the beginning. And is she a platinum? Absolutely. She's a 1-month platinum. I think this is her 2nd month platinum. But the majority of her money is coming from where? Okay. From fast start bonuses. Okay, I can tell you this, her fast start bonuses, or personal fast start bonuses, dwarf mine. Okay, I can tell you this because my organization, the way it was built there, the matrix check, mine is higher than some people who have been in for 3 years. Okay, you want your matrix check to grow, you want your teams, you want the secret to it, go wide, rank up, give the comp plan time to work out. Now, do you have to wait forever all the time for the money? No. You'll be able to generate a very nice living in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, okay? More than what the average, you know, network marketing company pays. And then you can start breathing and concentrating, okay? And then building your organization, getting bigger in the organization, building a bigger organization, and then really, you know, achieving what network marketing is. I need a cup of iced tea here. I think you're muted.
I thought you.
Do we have any questions?
I thought you were taking a breather, and you were going to finish.
Oh, I was. No, I pretty much hit it. I jumped back and forth here and there.
Yeah, I thought
another long hangout.
Yeah, well, that's okay because it's all great information. Now, honestly, here if you guys missed any of that, you can come back and watch the replay of it. The replay will be up until tomorrow, or you can click on the link and get the YouTube video of it. But I think probably the biggest thing that you want to pay attention to is that, and John made a statement I just posted on my page. I actually got it from Tim's page, which he said it really quickly, but, you know, about how you can piss away being rich, but you can't piss away being wealthy. Well, it's really the truth. That's what I think I get out of this even though I wouldn't say it like that. But that's typical John saying it. But, I mean, the truth of the matter is if you stick around long enough, you will build wealth. And I think I was just looking, I think Jackie had just posted something about one of the ladies on the team who, just by sheer consistency and just sticking around long enough, she made it to the leaderboard. And I apologize if I can't remember her name right at this moment. I was just looking on her page a second ago. But she just made it. She's like, I think the #1 on the leaderboard because of just being consistent. And I think the point I really am trying to get across is that so many of you guys are going to quit. Natalie Wood. That's I had to go and look at it real quick because she's just being consistent with her marketing, consistent with her efforts. And I think a lot of you guys are just not consistent with what you're doing when the money is there and the opportunity to build the business is there. But you have to stay around long enough, and you have to be willing to help your team achieve what it is they're trying to achieve. So, I mean, I think that's the biggest takeaway that I got from it, which if some of you guys are watching this and you're still trying to figure out how do you fit into this equation, how are you going to build your business, big takeaways. Build wide. You constantly want to look for people in order to be able to build your team. You never know who that diamond in the rough is going to be. And then more than anything, be consistent with it. Over the last few weeks, as John mentioned, I'm dealing with some health issues in the middle of moving, a lot of chaos going on in my life. So what I've had to do is actually hire an assistant to help me. Again, I'm training my assistant as I prepare for a surgery that I have coming up. So I've had to slow down. One of the things that I've learned from the event in Vegas that Dale taught us is, run when you can, and when you can't run, you don't. So on days where I'm able to do more things, I'm like doing more work, and days when I can't, then I have to slow down. So, you have to be prepared to do as much as you can with your team and grow with your team. And then when you can't, you simply can't. Right now, this is the time where we're in, like, I'm going to say the biggest growth phase. This month, I'm putting in as much time as I possibly can, considering my situation, and next month. So if you guys are looking at this right now and you're wondering what you can do, put in as much time as possible. Stop procrastinating. Stop using your excuses. Even when I'm not feeling well, I'll literally sit up in bed, with pillows and everything else, still getting my work done until late at night. So don't make excuses. Use whatever opportunity you can, whatever you have available to you. If you don't know it, learn it. Just like he mentioned, Crystal does, YouTube, Instagram. Take some tutorials. I think that's the next thing. Make an investment in yourself, because John didn't get to where he's at by just sitting around waiting for somebody to give him a handout or waiting to teach him. He taught himself, and he went and learned on his own. And John, what would be like the biggest advice, like if you just had to tell them to do something right now so that they could get their business to moving forward, what would be like the biggest, the biggest piece of advice that you would give them, the one step that they would need to take to really start propelling their business forward?
I got to go back to the beginning about the barometer. What I think, whether it's tonight, it's 9:53 right now in Georgia, depending on where they are in the world, is if you're checking out, okay, you heard how to start off your business the right way. Where did you devote your time? If you've been in the business for any length of time, a month or more, okay, I want you to go to your back office and look, and I want you to take a screenshot of it, write it down, take a snapshot with your mobile phone, if you don't know how to take a regular screenshot, on your computer, and look at where your business is. Okay, look at how many people came into your business, okay, in the last 24 hours, last 48 hours. You know it. Okay, don't be scared. Now, if you're seeing consistent growth, identify the people where the growth is. Okay, call them up and say, what's your goal? When do you want to hit it? And you mark that down. And if they're the runners, if you don't have anybody, or if you had a group and they're all dead, get to sponsoring. Okay, call up your upline and say, my business is crap. I'm sick of dealing with it. I'm sick of calling this fool here or there. They don't answer my phone calls. I know they'd be good. Get over it. Move on. Okay? Okay? Figure out who the people are, and if you have people to work with, great, work with them and still sponsor new. If you don't have anybody there, well, guess what? You don't have a business. Okay? Because you're not on this hangout to hear about my weight loss. I can tell you that. You're here as a business builder. So what are you in business for? Okay? And then have some realistic expectations. Okay? I'm not saying that whatever that is for you. Say, okay, here are my time constraints. Literally, when are you building this business? Okay? What are your time constraints? Now, what I mean by that is if you have 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week to build this business, okay, and you just sat with me for 2 hours on this, or an hour and 55 minutes on this Google Hangout, this is not money-making activities, okay? This is extracurricular activities. Yeah, you're getting some what you guys call nuggets, and yeah, it's really cool to hang out, and yeah, you can make comments in the chat room and all that good stuff. Okay, but if you're working this business 10 hours per week, this doesn't count, because this is not a money-making activity. Money-making activity is exposing people to the business and following up with them. End of story. Thing that makes you money in this business. Exposing people to business. Charles Dyson, who has 17 million kids, I forget now, he has only 8. Okay, but Charles and Christina, okay, if you watch Charles's page, he went out and he did some videos. See, I watch everybody in my organization. And yeah, Charles was at the football game this weekend, and he was prospecting. Matter of fact, we were at the pizza place after the game, and Charles sold a bottle. We were outside, and he was wearing a button. And me and Tim Miller were standing outside talking, and these ladies who were eating pizza started talking. He sold them a bottle. He had it in his pocket. He brought it to the game, and we went to a pizza place. Okay? Charles went out also about a week or two ago and had cards made up. I think they were like postcard type flyers, like laminated kind of things. And he wasn't going there and putting them in beauty parlors and putting them on street corners and just, whatever. He was going out, walking the streets of Atlanta, handing them out, and if you got a card from him, you spoke to him. And he said, I'm going to give out, I think he had 1,000 or 500 of them that he purchased, and that his goal over the next couple of weeks was to give them out, but everybody he gave them out, he had a conversation with. That's money-making activity, okay? So if your business, you're going to work at 10 hours per week, and you got 2 hours of this Google Hangout, and you're doing that and everything else, this is late night stuff, okay? Guess what? Eat your dinner faster, watch the Hangout while it is, okay, and do 10 hours of money-making activities. That's what you're going to do your business, okay? And if you say, I don't have anybody, I don't know anybody, I don't know what to do, quit. Call up the company and quit, because that's a bunch of nonsense. Because you can go into the official skinny group where we have well over 10,000 people, 24 hours a day, who will answer your questions, where you can ask for tips, you can go through files, and you can find a way. And you find something that worked with you. I don't want to contact friends and family. Great, you heard it from me. I don't have a family on my side of the family. I don't have, and I have friends, but they're all network marketers. So I have to build my business a little bit differently. Now, we're going to have some things that are coming up, as people know. Justin Clark's system that he's having created for people who have, want to do stuff like that. It'll have a system and stuff, and people who have a budget, you'll be able to buy some stuff. But that shouldn't be it. We just had a co-op that we did. We have a bunch of people who got sales from the co-op. It was having signs put out, where I think we're in the 5th or 6th week coming up from it. A lot of leads coming in from it here and there. But that's not your only type of marketing. There's not going to be one thing, unless you're a very wealthy person where you can afford to hire somebody and outsource all your marketing. You got to find something that works for you. There's people who swear by the recipe posting. I don't do it, okay? I won't take the time to do it. I'm doing other types of stuff. But there's people who built diamond organizations doing it that way. And if that's something that you want to do, learn it. But here's the thing. Whatever way you choose to build your business, master one of them. Dabble in some of the others when you have some downtime, okay? But master one item, okay? Be the best at that one thing, okay? And all this nonsense is that I see other big-time leaders and stuff in network marketing and do multiple streams of income. Great. When you're one of them in one company, then you can do it too, okay? Because there's not many of them. So that's the thing. Master one thing. One business and one type of marketing. Try other ways. Hey, buy drop cards, buy flyers, whatever. But master one thing, okay? Because when you get good at it, okay, I'll tell you what, I mentioned Crystal before. Crystal is teaching me how to do Instagram. I have more people on Instagram than her, okay, everything else. I don't post very much on Instagram. I don't know how I have those followers. I think they came because I used to be a Twitter marketer, so I have big followings. Okay, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about Twitter Instagram 3 weeks ago. All of a sudden now I'm getting 1,700 likes on a photo because Crystal said, do this, do this, do this. I feel like an idiot. I'm like, I'm an internet marketer and I'm not an Instagram marketer. But all these kids and this, and she's doing this, and has celebrities she's putting into the business, and all this stuff. And I'm asking her for help. Guess what? Because I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to seek out. Crystal's the best at it. Okay, she sponsored almost 3,000 people in her. I think it was her first business, personally, not her group, personally. So guess what? I'm going to listen to her. And I listened to a few things, and matter of fact, I think it was yesterday morning, she sent me a Facebook message with my Instagram picture, and I didn't know what she meant, and I put a question mark. And she said, do you see how many likes you got on your last several photos? I'm like, yeah. It was like 1,600 likes. Me and my wife were sitting there. My phone started going crazy, and I didn't know what I did. I was like, okay. She said, what did you do? I said, I did what you said. I did this thing with the hashtag, and I cut and pasted it, and I walked outside, and my phone went crazy. That's what she told me to do. And I have no idea what I did still to this day, but it worked. So whatever, and I guess I'll keep doing it. But whatever is master something, okay? Figure out what works. And here's another thing. Don't do something, okay? If you see something that's working for another person, but it makes you uncomfortable and stuff, people are going to realize it. Whether it's in an in-person meeting or something like that, you're not going to fake it, okay? You need to be doing something that fits you, okay? And some of the things you might have to learn to do, but certain things you might have to learn to do, like speak to people, okay? So that, if you don't want to speak to people, put on a button, okay? I was more embarrassed for Charles Dyson wearing that button than he was, and he wasn't embarrassed. And him and Clarence and him showed up at Starbucks when we were going there, and you got these two guys wearing skinny fiber shirts going to a football. We're going to opening day game, and everybody's dressed except they got skinny stuff on, pamphlets in their hand, and buttons. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as we get to a pizza place where 3 women are stuffing their face, okay, he sells a bottle right in front of me and Tim. And I think Tim's in the chat room right now. Okay, Tim will verify it. Me and Tim looked at each other like, are you kidding me? Okay, and wearing the button, they asked him, what's that? What does your shirt say? And he has his shirt, his back of his shirt says, ain't nobody got time for fat. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for fat. And that's how they stopped him. We were outside. And Pam, you were there. He asked me if I had more bottles. I had bottles in my car, but I wasn't parked near the pizza place. It works, okay? And it might be a little uncomfortable, but you have to find something. You're going to have to, if you don't want to talk, put a button on, okay? Put 2 buttons on. Put one on the back of your shirt, have a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, put it on your shirt, whatever you want to do. Do something until you find something that's working, okay? And then you can start dabbling in other things, but master one thing.
John, I was sitting over here laughing because, truthfully, I was thinking the same thing. Like, we're here at the football game. We're here to be social. When he walked up, sorry, Charles, I was thinking he had cards all in his pocket, and his pocket was stuffed with them. But yeah, he did. He sold it right there, and and I remember Lamont said the same thing. Like, he just watched them literally sit there outside and sell it to somebody. But, you can't knock him for getting his hustle on. He does have 8 kids. And so his mind is set that he's going to succeed regardless. So he came there with the intent, hey, it's going to be a lot of people there at the game, be eating, and I'm going to sell a bottle. So that's the truth. But you know what? The truth of the matter is that realistically, while we may have been looking at it like, oh, he's got on the shirt, he's looking at it like, I'm running my business, and my business runs 24/7. And those are the type of people that we're all looking for. I think we were just laughing because we were waiting on him. We were standing out there in the heat, and then he runs up in the shirts. We're like, come on, dude, really? So, but he was determined that he was going to get it, and he literally got it. And both him and Clarence, but it was pretty comical. We were all just sitting there kind of chilling out at the game, and they're in there with the skinny body shirt. So, but yeah. John, again.
It was amazing.
Well, you know what the thing is it's the determination, and everybody goes about it differently, and I think you made a couple good points. You have to kind of do what you feel comfortable doing. I remember Charles making a comment about that he was going to go ride the martyr. Is that what it's called? I don't even know what it's called. Is that what it's called? The bus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that he was going to go.
Yeah, the bus and the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, not happening. I haven't been on like the public transportation system in a long time. We were going to do it while we were going to the game, but we ended up having, the cars pick us up. But listen, you have to do what you feel comfortable doing. He's very comfortable with doing that. You have to do. I do attraction marketing and relationship marketing. You have to do what feels comfortable to you. And I always tell people, stop trying to be who you aren't. You can learn a skill set, but until you perfect that skill set, do what you're good at doing, and stop trying to do something else. He's very comfortable with just sitting down and talking to people. He's very comfortable with just putting on the shirt, button. That's not something that I'm comfortable in my everyday, just running out and having on a t-shirt with the button on and having people stare at me and ask questions. But it works for him. And if that's something that works for you, then do it. If you're great on Twitter, then spend your time on Twitter. If you're really good on Facebook, then do it. I honestly just started up a group. I've got like 200 people in my group, and I have my assistant helping me with posting recipes, and I've actually sold some product through the group. So, you have to find out things that work for you and really make it work. But Jon, again, thank you. I knew that we would be really pressing it to get an hour in, but 2 hours, I'm sure they have, tons of questions. They don't want it to end, and we can always find something to talk about. But we appreciate everything that you do, everything that you share with us, and just really giving your time and your attention to the team. Just being able to have someone like you on the team and sharing your knowledge is just really incredible. I really feel blessed, not only to be part of this company and part of this team, but really to have you as my sponsor now by default. So one, because you're just really a cool guy, and secondly, because you really have a heart of gold. I don't think a lot of people really get that doing these hangouts is something that helps everyone, not just your team members, that anyone who's watching this, they can use this, they can plug people into this later, and that you're just so willing to share all the time. For those of you guys who are watching this is Jon 24/7. If you ever ask Jon a question, he's always willing to share. And that's the beautiful thing about our company and about our team, that you're always going to be able to get someone to help you 24/7. But most importantly, you get brilliant minds like Jon who are going to tell you, like you said, how you can not just be rich but wealthy. So if you haven't joined our team yet and you're still looking at this, I really can't tell you. I don't know what your problem is at this point. You should have already clicked on the link, but you still have a chance to do so, so go ahead and click on the link. Jon, thank you so much.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely. You can say anything you want. The floor is yours.
I want, a lot of people say, well, how do I sponsor, the big time leaders? By building up and developing relationships. Let me just explain something to you. My organization, okay, I met Tim Miller in March or February of 2013 in Dallas, Texas, and we were at an industry event. For people who are in the company, they know about the story, but the event was boring. It wasn't a company event. It was an industry event, so there were a lot of top leaders. We ran into each other in the lobby by the bar. We ended up spending the whole weekend, cracking on people, sitting there. And we became friends, and then football season came, and then Tim was coming into town, and we became friends on Facebook, and I knew what he did, and he was successful, and he knew what I did. I was successful, and never prospected me, and it ended up being where he called me to look at something for him, and I looked at something for him, and I said, well, it'd be stupid for me to provide what he wants when I looked at the comp plan, because I never really took it seriously, and I just called it the Pink Bottle Company, but I knew he was having tremendous success, and I saw when he got his $1 million ring, because we were friends on Facebook, and that's how I came to the company, because of a year-long relationship. It was a year and a week, or just shy of a year, something like that. But here's this. Get this. people don't know this. Pete Delmonico, the diamond record breaker, not only my best friend, I met Pete Delmonico here in Atlanta, Georgia, the first week of June of 2012 at a company event, another company that I wasn't even building. I rented out a big suite there because I didn't want to drive back and forth to my house because it was here in Atlanta. And I ended up throwing a party till 5 a.m. with some of their distributors. And Pete was in my suite and hung out with me till 5 a.m. with a lot of people. And there's actually pictures of it on Facebook still. I'm not going to mention the company. And there was people from several companies, but Pete and I became friends. Never worked together, okay? And that was June of 2012. Pete and I finally worked together starting in November of 2013, so a year and a half later, give or take a month. And that's how it came from Pete Delmonico. We became friends. We met. We didn't prospect each other. Pete came to me from time to time asking me my advice on something, and we didn't start working together until I think it was November 7th of, not even a year ago. And then we decided to take on Skinny Body as a project in March. And the guy that I met at a party in a suite for a company I wasn't in, from a year and a half relationship, when most people would have looked at Pete like a dollar sign, I never prospected Pete one time. I was just cool to be friends with him. I ran into him at other events that we weren't even doing. Okay, I ran into him at several other events. As a matter of fact, when my book first came out, a month later, I had one. He asked me for my book. He read the book in the lobby outside the event, didn't even go into it, and came over to me afterwards. And that's how we became friends. And that was about 7 months, I think, before we started working together as well. I kept seeing him at different events, too. For companies I wasn't involved in. I had a company in Dallas, and that was in Dallas as well. And look at what happens. Pete Delmonico, who breaks the record to Diamond, comes from a relationship. And where do I come from? I come from a relationship with Tim Miller. I didn't come from an email blast or anything else to somebody who didn't know me. It was a relationship, didn't prospect, got to know each other, and that's it. And some of your best people, if you give it time, may not join you right now. Don't look at people as a dollar sign. Will probably sometime work with you down the road if you give it a chance. And if you hang around in the business long enough to make it to work, because if you hang around long enough and you have success in the business, they're going to start getting ticked off like, man, why hasn't he prospected me for the business? Or, John, why haven't you told me about it? I have people all the time saying, John, tell me about the business. Why haven't you prospected me? I just didn't think it was for you. My approach is a little bit different. So I'm not saying do what I do. Let them know what you do, people like that. Because you guys need to sponsor people. But if you're been in the business and you're building, if you're looking at the business, it's not that hard. If you have realistic expectations, it's not that hard. If you think you're going to be a millionaire overnight and get $1 million ring, and now here we are on September 9th, and you're going to get $1 million ring this year, don't even get started, because you're not getting $1 million ring this year. Okay. Okay. The top networkers couldn't come in and get $1 million ring in this business with 4 months left, with the holidays coming up in 3 months or whatever. But right now is the best time for network marketing. I will tell you that. You have a good 2.5 month window, then the holidays, and then you have the amazing time in January, February, and March for the first part of the year. And weight loss, one of the great things about weight loss is you got summer. People want to look good for summer. Kids go back to school in September, so the parents get freed up to concentrate. And then you got people making New Year's resolutions because they gained all that weight, and they just basically dusted off their Facebook timeline profile status update from the previous year, and they're 20 pounds heavier than they were the year before. So it's a perfect time in January and February. So I'll leave it at that.
John, I think that goes back to the same thing, being consistent. Sometimes I've had, within just the last couple of days, and we've been running around within the last couple of days, I've had a couple of people reach out to me who I had maybe talked to maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, and I haven't had time to kind of follow up with people over the last week or so, that just reached out to me because they've been seeing pictures of us posting about Tim's birthday, of all the craziest things, to say, hey, looks like you're having fun. What's going on with your business? I'm interested. So the craziest thing is, even though I haven't had time to post about my business, I'm posting about hanging out with people in my business, and now they're interested. So go figure. So but it's still being consistent, because now I'm showing them, hey, I don't just work all the time. I actually live. But I'm still being consistent in my business by showing them another part of my business, that, hey, I hang out with my business partners, and we don't just make money, but we also hang out, and this is what we do. It's part of the lifestyle of being able to have a lifestyle business. So, and realistically, just from the weekend, I've had about 3 or 4 people reach out to me, and I have appointments with them this week, just from over the weekend, I guess, from all the crazy hanging out we did. But it's all about showing people that you're still going to be around, and letting them see that you're not going to die off, because I think a lot of people expect that you're going to be here today and gone tomorrow. So when they see that, you know what, you're still doing this, you're still making money, you're living your life, and that life is good, then they're interested. And they want to see how they can be part of it, especially when they see that you haven't contacted them back, and that you're not bugging them or tracking them down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, John,
I agree 100%.
yeah. Well, and you know what? After
People don't want to join. People don't want to join desperate people. You know, that's the whole thing. Because if you're the only, they're your only attention, they can feel that. So, you know, if you're sending them 50 different Facebook messages, or emailing them 100 times, and all this stuff, that's desperation. Some of the best people I brought in, because I'm not desperate, and you know, I could care less. Do I want them in the business? Great, I do. Okay. Do I want them to work when they get in the business? Of course. But I'm not going to chase anybody down. And if you're desperate, they're not going to join you because they don't want to do it. If you're going about your thing and you're succeeding, you're doing other things, and they see that and you expose it to them, guess what? They're going to get curious. Trust me, they're watching you. Okay. And you know, when they're ready, they will. And that's why the funniest thing is Pam, now she's out hanging out with these people, and now they're like, wow, these are real people that do real things. I want to be part of that. Some people want to just be part of the club. They want to be around because they have boring lives. You know, they want to do something.
Yeah, agree 100%. And you know what I always tell them? Listen, in order to hang out with 6 and 7 figure earners, you have to become one. So in order to hang with that crowd, you know, you have to become one. And the way that you become one is by working your business, and making some noise so that people know that you exist.
Exactly.
One can do it. You know, it's by buckling down and building your business, making some noise, and like Tim says all the time, you know, put your head down and build. So what's happened in your business, what's happening now for me, what's happened for so many other people, it's possible for anybody. It just takes time, and it takes commitment, and it takes dedication. But it's not any, I always say there's no hocus pocus. It's just a matter of time sometimes. You can go through a dry spell where nobody signs up, and then all of a sudden 10 or 15 people will sign up. It's that time where you have the dry spell that most people stop marketing and they quit, where you should be still doing the marketing that you were doing when people were signing up. That's what makes the difference between people who are successful and people who end up failing and don't make anything. So, John,
Exactly.
again, thanks so much. We could probably just stay on here all night till we just start, you know, laying down on the table, because I think we could just keep going back and forth, and I could just keep asking you questions, and I'm sure everybody would stay on this hangout and never hang up. But it's 10 o'clock, and I'm sure your wife wants you in bed. So thank you again. And if
No, she wants me to eat my dinner. Actually, waiting for
yeah,
me to go eat my dinner.
I've got dinner here too, so that's kind of my excuse too. So thanks, John, and you know we always love having you on the mastermind. So anytime you want to jump on here and drop some knowledge on us, or even drop a rap on us, we're down for it.
Oh, absolutely, definitely.
Next time,
You know, I'll always do that.
hey guys, next time John's gonna rap for us. How about that, John?
I have no problem. I
The
have no problem. I
rapping
got to set up my
millionaire.
system here. That I do.
Yeah, the rapping millionaire. Thanks, John. Y'all have a good night. Thanks again, and we'll be back on next Tuesday with another Millionaire Mastermind with another one of our great leaders in skinny body care. Thanks, John. You guys have a great night.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.